Washington down in the Bayou taking on the Pelicans, and this is one of those games where you have to see it to believe it. Daniel Gafford going off for 21 points. Kyle Kuzma gives you 10 and 9, almost a double-double. But it was a team effort tonight. We got so many people that contributed, all 5 Wizards starters in double figures. 2 of them off the bench, could have been 4. Final score is 113-103. Welcome to Wizards Postgame Live after a big dub. Christy Winters-Scott, along with Wes Hall, will be joined by Chris, Drew, and Megan here momentarily. Christy, what's better than 4 in a row?
5 of them.
And this is the second time that has happened, most importantly against a strong New Orleans Pelican team. They're 4th in the West right now. Washington needed this win. What is your thoughts about what we saw?
Well, first of all, Wes, it was balanced scoring by Washington. They were phenomenal in terms of sharing the basketball and taking good care of the basketball, especially in the second half. Only 3 turnovers in the second half. That helped them manufacture the offense that they needed. They had 25 second chance points. The Pelicans, only 11 second chance points. So they were pounding the offensive glass. They were getting second and third chance opportunities. But most importantly, they were attacking the paint and finishing in the lane. They had 50 paint points tonight. You said it, 5 starters in double-figure scoring, and it was solid. They were efficient with how they were getting it. You heard Bradley Beal tell Megan McPeak, I don't need to score an enormous amount of points. I can do other things on the court well, but what he did well down the stretch was score 9 consecutive points for the Wizards, helped them close the door on the Pelicans on the road, but they also made 11 free throws straight to finish the game and continue to keep that door locked and shut. But Daniel Gafford, listen, you had a phenomenal game, and they needed every bit of what he did on both sides of the floor. He was aggressive. He was smart with his choices. He was following up the shots that weren't falling for Washington, and that's why I was saying the 25-11 mark on the second chance points, that was a big difference in this game, but it all had to do with Daniel Gafford's motor. He just stayed on neon green. Like, there was no hesitation.
None.
There was no yellow light for Daniel Gafford. They found him early, they found him often, and that dunk that he had early on, the lob by Beal. Listen, we need to do that with him when we get back down there. If Megan wants to do it, if there's an amusement park line so we could throw Gaff a lob pregame, I'm down for that. But just a phenomenal effort overall by the team, but most importantly, the way they closed the game, I thought was excellent.
I want to give Daniel Gafford his flowers because it's not often you see a guy have a 14-point first half the way that he did. Stayed out of foul trouble.
Yes.
Christy, which of these 3 stats do you find most impressive for Daniel Gafford? So you got the 21 points.
Right, love it.
Or about the 12 rebounds. Or
I like it.
The 5 blocks.
You know what I'm going to say.
I know. That's why I asked the questions. I
the
just asked
5
questions.
blocks, honey.
There you go.
5 blocks.
Yeah.
Because, listen, he stayed out of foul trouble, right? He knows that Kristaps Porzingis isn't in there to help shore up the interior defense, so he stayed aggressive.
And no Anthony Gill is back up.
And no Anthony Gill either. But he stayed aggressive with his blocks. Look at this one. Get that thing all the way out. Beat it up. Like, we love to see it. Hey, rent was due 5 times for Daniel Gafford inside, and he made them pay. Every time they tested him in there, he passed the test. He was right there to clean everything up inside, and that's what you want from Daniel Gafford. His presence on the floor is unmatched. It is unmeasured. And with him on the court defensively, playing smart like that, staying on the court, they need that night in and night out. And it's 21 points. That's just a cherry on top for me. Like, he did well, right, in terms of his scoring ability, but the 12 boards can't match that. That's his motor again, right, folks? Okay? And then the 5 blocks, phenomenal. Clean blocks. No body contact. Kept the principle of verticality there, but he was just outstanding stopper on the defensive end. And defense is also rebounding. So those 12 boards, those count. And he was also, like I said, on the offensive boards as well. So he did a phenomenal job in there. Just overall solid game.
Shout out to the landlord. Today's the 28th, so he's collecting February's rent now. He's not even going to wait till then. But I want to bring in Chris and Drew and get their thoughts on it. So many different guys I want to point out. But Chris and Drew, the floor is yours. What were you most impressed by today, Drew, about this win down in the Bayou?
I would say the 5 doors that Daniel Gafford knocked off and collected that rent.
Give me your rent. Give me.
I'm just gonna add on to what y'all been talking about, man. He was phenomenal. It looked a lot more powerful in live action probably than on TV. But he was phenomenal. exceptional. I mean, I don't even know another word to use, but he was that and more. The energy level was second to none. And when Valanciunas went out, that was he just had his eyes on the prize, and he definitely took advantage of that.
For your two best players to go 9 for 30 and you win by 10 on the road against a very good Pelicans team, what does that say about this Washington Wizards team? It says that your best player or best two players don't have to be Superman. If you have balanced scoring and you let Denny Avdia, DeLon Wright, Kendrick Nunn, Taj Gibson, all the guys that were called on to come off the bench, they gave you 44 points, but it wasn't just the scoring. It was just the physicality tonight. They're like, this was a street fight. And I like the Wizards was like, we want all the smoke in the Crescent City. We've talked about Gafford. But the fact that you're able to get 4 guys to come off the bench and give Wes Unseld Jr. 5 guys to come off the bench and give him that type of production is the reason why the Wizards have won 5 in a row.
Chris, looking at those 4 guys that you mentioned off the bench, whether it's Denny, DeLon, Kendrick, or Taj, who do you think is most impressive of those 4?
It's Denny for me. I said it during the broadcast, Wes, and I'll say it again. He's growing up in front of our eyes. There was a reason why the Wizards brass has articulated to the fan base why they traded Rui Hachimura. And what they said was we want to give Denny Avdia more opportunities. Well, all I know, Drew, is in the 2 games in which they've made that declaration, Denny has gone out here and has elevated his game from an offensive standpoint, rebounding the basketball, and defensively constantly taking the assignment.
Guys, I want to involve people in this conversation because, you know, we all have our thoughts on who we find to be rather impressive off the bench tonight. So who had the best bench performance? Wizards fans, go to NBCSportsWashington.com/vote or use your phone, hit that QR code on the screen right now and get your vote on. You see the 4 options right there. But Drew, while they're voting, I have to ask you this question too. What's up with Kendrick Nunn saying, I don't do anything less than 12 points off the bench, whether I'm here, whether we're in I'm just saying.
Hey, you know what's more impressive? The 13 shot attempts.
Efficiency.
To get 12,
he's not scared to jack him
points. So he's not scared to jack him up. But, I mean, let's just talk about Taj Gibson, though. I think he had the most important role tonight. I would go, it's easy to go Denny, but Taj Gibson, if it wasn't for Taj Gibson, you literally using his head on that play,
Sure did.
getting Valanciunas out of this game, probably none of this even happens.
Yeah.
What are we talking about here?
Yeah.
So I'm going to give the defensive belt tonight, the wrestling belt, because it was a wrestling move put on Taj Gibson.
Yeah, he took a DDT, a pile driver, a stone cold stunner. He took them all tonight.
I'm rolling with Taj Gibson.
Drew,
I'm rolling with Taj.
The fact that he gave you 10 boards on top of the 9 points, 10 boards fighting down inside, that's what, you know, you guys gave him the nickname Old and Ready.
Old and Ready.
When you talk about a veteran presence inside to know how to match up on a night-to-night basis, that's exactly what we were looking for, right, Drew?
And we were also looking for him to get his first double-double since I was in the league in 2016. Was it 2017? The last double-double for Taj Gibson? Come on. We needed 1 more point.
Guys, as much as we laugh about these things, the other thing I want to point out is a guy like DeLon Wright, taking some bumps and bruises along the way. He's also a part of this bench productivity. He gave you 8, but 4 rebounds as well. Chris, DeLon Wright seems to be steady as they go as well.
I mean, he's just a professional. He comes out every night defensively. It's something that is like a standard. Like, we know when DeLon Wright comes in, he is going to shut it down from a defensive standpoint. But attacking the basket, when he landed on that wrist, I was worried. That first blush. But he really got right up, went to the free throw line, and took care of business. But that's what we're talking about with this veteran presence of Beal not having to do it all every night, Kuzma not having to do it all, or Porzingis when he's out there. That's the kind of like the balance and the quality depth you need to be a really good basketball team. And again, this is a big win. This was one of those when we were looking at the 5-game schedule, guys, where you're like, we'll see. The Wizards have now gone to Dallas, check. Went to Houston, down 19, came back and won, check. Won by 10 here to the Pelicans. The final 2 games on this trip, no disrespect to anybody in the league, it's hard to win on the road, but they got the Spurs and the Pistons. I'll just leave it there. I'm already visioning like
know what
a perfect road trip would look like, but the Wizards still have much work to do.
It was interesting because, amongst ourselves, we looked at this stretch of the schedule and said, how many do you think that they could win on a 5-game road trip? Some said 3-2. Ideally, we were like 4-1 would be great. Starting off 3-0. Like,
hey, go get all of them now.
Hey, now
go get all of them.
Go get all. Clear the board. So that's what it's all
greedy.
about.
Look, the way this road trip has gone, I've eaten everything they put in my face.
Don't play with your food.
Go get 2 more wins. I'm greedy.
He ain't lying. He's not lying.
Well, look, gentlemen, I heard you talking about getting some Tex-Mex, so I will go ahead and give you a head start to go ahead and make your way over there now. Chris and Drew, enjoyed as always. We'll see you Monday in San Antonio. Wizards fans, head coach Wes Hall Jr. at the postgame podium right now.